The night the city forgot how to breathe, Sia stood on the edge of the rooftop with her phone pressed to her chest, listening to a song she had promised herself she would never play again. Below her, traffic lights blinked like tired stars, and above her, the sky was heavy with unsaid things. Love had never been gentle with her. It arrived loudly, burned brightly, and left scars that refused to fade. Yet as the first notes filled her ears, she felt something stir inside her, a quiet question she had been avoiding for years. What if love did not have to hurt to be real? Sia had met Aryan 2 years earlier in the most ordinary way inside a small recording studio that smelled of dust, cables, and forgotten dreams. He was producing a track for an independent artist, and she had been hired to write lyrics. There was nothing dramatic about their first conversation, just two people talking about melodies, broken headphones, and why some songs feel like home while others feel like goodbye. But from that day, something invisible connected them. They started working late nights together, sharing coffee, silence, and half-finished thoughts. Aryan noticed how Sia always hesitated before reading her lyrics out loud, as if afraid her truth might be too loud for the room. Sia noticed how Aryan smiled whenever music flowed perfectly, like a child who had just discovered magic. Their bond grew slowly, the way trust does when it has been broken before. Sia had loved once and lost deeply. She had given everything to someone who treated her heart like a temporary shelter, a place to stay until something better came along. When that love ended, it took her confidence with it. Aryan carried his own wounds too. His father had walked away when he was young, leaving behind silence and unpaid bills. Since then, Aryan believed love was unreliable, something beautiful but temporary. He poured his emotions into music instead, where he could control the ending. When feelings finally surfaced between them, they were messy and confusing. Late one night, as rain tapped against the studio windows, Aryan played a soft melody on the piano. Without thinking, Sia began to sing words she had never written down. Her voice trembled, but it was honest. When she finished, the room was quiet. Aryan looked at her like he had just heard his own heart speak. That was the moment they crossed a line neither of them had planned to cross. Being together felt like standing in sunlight after years of cold. They inspired each other. Sia wrote lyrics that felt alive again, and Aryan composed music that carried warmth instead of loneliness. But love also brought fear. Sia struggled with the constant thought that she was not enough, that if Aryan truly saw her flaws, he would leave. Aryan struggled with vulnerability. Whenever things became too emotional, he pulled away, hiding behind work and silence. Their first major challenge came when Aryan was offered a contract by a major label in another city. It was everything he had worked for, the kind of opportunity musicians dream about. Instead of celebrating, fear filled the space between them. Sia felt abandoned before he even left. Aryan felt torn between his dream and the woman who had become the melody of his life. They argued in fragments, saying everything except what truly mattered. On the night before his departure, they stood in the studio, surrounded by memories. Sia asked him if love was just another song he would eventually finish and move on from. Aryan, unable to face his own fear of attachment, said nothing. That silence broke them. The months apart were heavy. Sia threw herself into writing, but every line carried Aryan's absence. She watched his success from a distance, interviews, awards, smiling photos that felt strangely empty. Aryan achieved everything he had wanted, yet every applause reminded him of the one person who was not there. Music no longer felt complete. The song sounded perfect, but felt hollow. He realized then that love was not a distraction from his dream, it was the reason his dream had meaning. Their second challenge came from within. Pride, fear, and unresolved pain kept them apart, even when they both wanted to reach out. It took a breaking point for each of them. For Sia, it was the night her song was rejected by a producer who said it was too emotional, too vulnerable. She walked home crying, realizing she had been hiding her heart again, not just from the world, but from herself. For Aryan, it was standing on a massive stage, lights blinding, crowds screaming, and feeling completely alone. In that moment, he understood that success without love felt like noise without melody. Aryan returned to the city unannounced. He went straight to the old studio, hoping, praying that Sia would be there. When she walked in and saw him standing by the piano, time seemed to pause. Words failed them at first. Then Arian spoke, not as a producer or an artist, but as a man finally honest with himself. He told her he was afraid of loving deeply because he feared being left, but running away had only proven that fear wrong. Sia listened with tears in her eyes, her own walls crumbling. She told him loving him had scared her too, because it meant trusting again. But she was tired of living half alive. Their resolution was not dramatic or perfect. It was quiet, real, and human. They chose to try again, not promising forever, but promising honesty. They worked through their insecurities day by day. Arian learned to stay instead of retreating. Sia learned to believe she was worthy of being loved fully, not conditionally. Together, they created a song that told their story, a song about loving without fear, about holding someone not because you are afraid to lose them, but because you choose them every day. The music video premiered months later. It showed two people walking through separate worlds, carrying invisible scars, until they finally meet in the middle. When Sia watched it for the first time, sitting beside Arian, she felt a calm she had never known before. Love did not feel like pain anymore. It felt like understanding. Back on the rooftop as the song ended, Sia smiled softly. She was no longer standing at the edge. She was standing in the middle of her life, grounded and whole. Love had not saved her by changing who she was. It saved her by reminding her who she had always been. And somewhere inside the music, the message lived on, simple and powerful. Love me like you do, not perfectly, not endlessly, but honestly, bravely, and without fear.